in the red blood cell storage. And the second one, do you learn about blood component of each blood component in the blood bank? เดี๋ยวเรียนค่ะ blood component ใน blood bank
บัตรแบงค์ในฮิมาโตครับอาจารย์บัตรคอมโพเนนต์ในฮิมาโตใช่ไหมครับ
ใช่ blood component เรียนยัง Okay, so if you already learn about blood component, can you tell me which one that you already learned? Can you give me some example of blood component? Plasma, yes. Another one? Pancreas cells. That pancreas cell that you have, that you learn in the, I'm not sure about the example of the case study in the last laboratory, right? So, and the third one is, because some type of red blood cell is very, very rare, we can freeze it and use it in several years later. The fourth one is, you have to know about the correct storage method and the correct transportation method, because each component should be transported and keep in different temperatures. The fifth is about management of blood cold chain or blood component. And the sixth, what you have to know about indication for each blood component. In this case, it means that you know that for the red blood cell, we have whole blood, we have pancreas cell, we have leukocyte decrease. Each one has different indication for use. And the seventh, you should be able to select the appropriate blood for the patient. Such as in the patient with thalassemia, can you tell me which the blood component should be given to that patient?
Pancreas cell.
Pancreas cell, yes. But we have specification of the pancreas cell that you're going to learn today. That should be given to the thalassemia patient that different from other patient. If you don't understand, you can raise your hand, okay? So first, because of blood storage, important of blood when you draw it from your blood vessel, it's gonna coagulation, it's gonna form coagulation. So you have to add anticoagulant. And first anticoagulant used in the blood bank is sodium phosphate. Can you tell me what is the function of sodium phosphate? Why we have to use sodium phosphate? Why we not use EDTA? What is the difference? Maybe a little bit too hard. So can you tell me what is the property of EDTA? How it inhibits and coagulation?
Bind with calcium.
Yes, it binds to calcium or chelatic ion, something like that. So the coagulation cannot be formed. But if you give that one to the patient, you have to consider that calcium is a whole factor for autoenzymes. If you give that one to the patient gonna die because of they cannot use calcium. Okay. In the first, they use sodium phosphate because one of these properties is it can inhibit enzyme in the red blood cells. But they found that this one is so not good because if you transfuse into the patient, what's gonna happen? Patient gonna have high level of phosphate in the patient. So it will induce clinical complication. So the next one, they introduce another one, that is sodium citrate. I know that you may be familiar with this word, with this anticoagulant you use in which laboratory? Sodium citrate used for which lab? Can you remember? I remember that we just learned last semester.
Glucose.
In hematology, no, not glucose.
Coagulation.
Coagulation with PT and APDT, right? Yes, you use in APDT. And to use this one, they already confirmed that the use of sodium citrate is not toxic to the human body. By the way, the purpose of storage blood component is you must to extend the shelf life of the red blood cell. And sodium citrate seems to be not good enough. So they introduce another one that is citrate electrode. When you have dextrose, it means that the cell will have a little bit more energy, a little bit more glucose that can produce energy. By the way, it seems to be not good. So the embryo number one that is acid citrate dextrose, and right now we use the formula acetate phosphate dextrose or CPD. So this is just the history of anticoagulant in the blood component. I don't want you to remember all these. Just remember the correct one that you're going to use today. So what really happens when you donate blood? When you draw your blood from the patient or from the blood donor, you have to keep it in the bag, right? Do you know how many volume of the blood that you donate in each time?
3 depend on the weight
Sorry?
ขึ้นอยู่กับน้ำหนักของตัว
So the body weight, correct. So actually depend on the sex. Sometimes it depends on sex. By the way, if the donor is very small, maybe depend on the body weight. So and then the blood bag must be transported to the blood bank laboratory, and then blood bank laboratory will process and separate into each blood component. And more importantly, not just separate into each blood component, you have to examination the infectious marker. And we will learn about this later. And the next one, when we already complete all these steps, we will label that this blood is for what? Such as this blood is blood group A, RH positive, RH negative, and already approved for all the infectious marker. And right now, if you work in the hospital, you can ask or order this blood from the Red Cross Institute. So, and then you can give blood to the patient, as well as patient can become the donor. I would like to ask that in your idea, which one is the most important step? Only A choice. Step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 6, 7, 8. So actually all is the important step. That's why I show you all. Because if you imagine that you collect blood from the patient but you forget to sterilize the correction site, what's going to happen? You will have bacteria growth into the blood bag, right? And if you not transport into the correct way, so your red blood cell may be going to function properly. So the purpose of the blood preservation is, the important thing is that you have to provide a viable and normal function of the blood component for the patient. And at least when you transfuse this blood to the patient, it must be survive at least 25% for 3 days. So this is why we have to learn about blood preservation and blood storage. So to extend the shelf life of blood component, you have to select anticoagulant, sterilizer, and keep it into the proper temperatures. Okay. Can you tell me again what is anticoagulant that we use today?
CPD.
CPD. So when you keep blood for a long time, you know that shelf life of the red blood cell is about how many days?
120.
120 days, right? And after that, red blood cell gonna be lysis or eliminate at the liver or spleen. And this is what will happen if you store red blood for a long time. Such as the blood pH gonna decrease, or ATP gonna decrease as well. Anything that you see is very, very different from the first time that you collect blood. So when you see the table like this, I would like you to see at day 1, days below that you collect blood. And then see that when you keep blood for 7, 14 and 21 days, which parameter change a lot. Do you see this one? Plasma potassium. It changed a lot, right?
Yes.
From about 4 to 21. And you imagine that if you transfuse this blood to the patient, what's gonna happen?
High potassium and high hemoglobin in plasma.
Yes, patient gonna have high potassium in the plasma, and then it will induce the cardiac abnormality. So let's look at just some key important points about blood storage. The first one, you have to understand the definition of blood storage lessons. That is the condition that structural, biochemical, and immunological change within the red blood cell during storage, leading to decline in viability and function of red blood cell and might stimulate the immune system. So actually, I don't want you to remember the definitions, but I hope you to understand it. Understand that what is the structural change if you keep red blood cell for a long time. Do you think that it's gonna change or it's gonna normal?
Change.
Because you believe me that it changes, right? Okay.
It can be.
So the second one, biochemical change. From the previous table, it clearly shows that the biochemical is changed, but we have to find a suitable method to keep the biochemical still be the same or close to the first day. And the last one, for the blood bank, it seems to be that it should not involve in the immune. Why is still immunological change during the blood storage? That we're gonna learn today. So first one, as I mentioned earlier that when you store blood for a long time, the first thing that's gonna change is pH, right? pH decrease because in the blood bank, the red blood cells still function, still have viability, they need glucose. But when the red blood cell use glucose in non-oxygen, in no oxygen condition, it will use glycolytic pathway and produce lactic. That's why the blood, long-term storage blood will have pH decrease. When the pH change, enzymes still change the activity because the enzyme actually is not function properly at high level of acid. So when the enzyme change, all the process that produce ATP and 2,3-diphosphoglycerate or 2,3-DPG level will decrease because it requires enzyme activity to produce the ATP. So right now, when you keep the blood for a long time, the blood cell they have no energy enough. When they have no energy enough, the later thing that's gonna happen is it's gonna change the red blood cell functions, such as change sodium potassium pump. And the second one, change the membrane. If you imagine about membrane of red blood cells, so actually it's like lipid bilayer, right? But it's not just fit to one position. It can movement to control the volume of the red blood cell. But if you don't have energy, the red cell membrane will not move, or the lipid will easy to pass in and pass out of the red blood cells. So let's see the first one. That is when you reduce ATP level. ATP is important of the cell that control the red blood cell membrane. If you don't have ATP, all the water can pass into the red blood cell. And then you can see that red blood cell becomes swollen. And moreover, because sodium potassium pump is required ATP. If you don't have enough ATP, it cannot pump sodium out of the cell and cannot recruit potassium into the cell as well. So the cell membrane gonna change. And the third, when the cell membrane change, it can induce red blood cell lysis. So why membrane change induce red blood cell lysis? Can you tell me? You imagine that you have the red blood cell membrane. So actually it has flexible enough to movement into the blood vessel or into any directions. But if it forms like a rigid or hard to movement, hemoglobin when you attach to something, it will easy to induce red cell lysis, and then free hemoglobin will gonna release from the red blood cells. That's why if you keep red blood cell for a long time, you can find the hemoglobin level increase as well. The first one that I already tell you that sodium potassium pump require ATP to function. In normal condition, sodium is high concentration outside the cells, and potassium is high concentration inside the cell. Even the condition is like this, sodium try to pump out of the cell all the time. While potassium, even it already high concentration in the cell, it tries to pump potassium into the cell at the ratio 3 molecules of sodium out, and that will take 2 molecules of potassium in. But if you imagine that the ATP is lost, the energy that you need to drive sodium potassium pump gonna change. You cannot pump out sodium as you expect, and you cannot bring in the potassium as you expect as well. That's why it becomes the cell swollen like this. And the fifth is you don't have 2,3-DPG because when the pH change, pH decrease, it affects enzyme activity, and then it will induce decretion of 2,3-DPG. And this one is a cofactor that's important to release oxygen from the red blood cell to tissue. It means that if the molecule reduce, the red blood cell cannot release oxygen from the red blood cell to tissue. In the young red blood cells, the level of 2,3-DPG is increased. It means that it can release oxygen to the tissue well. For the young red blood cell, it's not mean for the young people, but it means that red blood cell that freshly correct, such as within the 7 days. For the old red blood cell, it means that the red blood cell that stored in the back for a long time. So when we see like this, for the young red blood cell, usually we will give to the neonate because of they require oxygen they require more oxygen to diffuse into the tissue. And I hope you remember that if you transfuse to neonate or transfuse to fetus, I will recommend you to transfuse with the young red blood cells. And because of this molecule is rapidly declined within 24 hours, and then it will become restored again. So, and the sixth one, when you think about the blood, it's not just only the red blood cell, it has other proteins like coagulations. Some coagulation factor is heat labile. It means that if you just put it at 40 degrees Celsius, it's gonna disappear, such as factor 5 and factor 8. Can you tell me how long that is gonna last from your blood? If you put the blood into the freezer, can you tell me how long it's gonna last from your blood? When you do PT and APDT experiment, how long that you collect blood and do the experiment? Immediately, 24 hours.
24 hours.
So actually, it's recommended you to do the experiment immediately. If you cannot do it immediately, you have to freeze it to stop enzyme or to stop protein labile. It means that if you store blood for a long time, factor 5 and factor 8 got lost from your blood. So how can I keep it in my blood? How can I keep it in the blood component? Can I freeze the red blood cell?
separate plasma
Yes, I should separate it first and then freeze the plasma at minus 20 degrees Celsius or lower temperature to protect it from loss. So while the factors such as 2, 7, 9, 10, and 5-minogen are still present in the whole blood or in the pancreas cell and still have the normal functions. I will recommend you to remember because it often found in the combinations. So finally, when we think about red blood cell storage, the two parameters gonna increase because gonna increase that is hemoglobin because of for the red blood cell lysis and potassium for the red blood cell lysis as well. And the parameter that is lower is viability of the cells. pH, from which molecule that induce pH decrease? Which molecule induce pH decrease?
lactic acid
Lactic acid from the red blood cell metabolism and because of the pH decrease, it's gonna change enzyme activity that cause reduce ATP to TDPG and decrease plasma sodium because cell cannot pump out sodium from the cells. And finally, because of cell structure change, because they don't have ATP to maintain their cell membrane. A lot of cell membrane gonna change the shape of red blood cells. And sometimes when you keep red blood cell for a long time, it can form like clumping. When you transfuse to the patient, it can block the red blood cell of the patients. And tissue will not have oxygen to maintain the tissue. The second one is about biochemical change. ATP to TDPG decrease, but why nitric oxide increase? Where is the nitric oxide from? I never explained it before, but in your idea, where is the nitric oxide come from?
oxidative stress
Oxidative stress. Yes, oxidative stress is one of the mechanisms that can increase nitric oxide. All these one will induce vasodilation in the red blood cells. When it induces vasodilation, your red blood cell will be extended and the blood volume gonna decrease because it don't have enough blood volume to maintain the blood vessels. And the last one is about immunological. It's like they have the study found that if you store red blood cell, store cell for a long time, white blood cell will naturally produce IL-1 alpha or IL-1 beta that can induce fever in the patient, as well as it can form microparticles. Do you know about this word before? Microparticle. Are you still with me? Are you not understand something? So, for this microparticle, micro it means a small one. Particle is mean anything. It's like dust or something like that. But microparticle can generate from red blood cell that fractalize or digest into the small particle and then it fill back together into the small red blood cell, very small red blood cell. Inside that microparticle, it can be anything, DNA, protein, and when you receive this microparticle, it can induce like immune response, such as if inside contain a virus. What is gonna happen if you transfuse to the patient will respond to the virus as well. And if you have the microparticle a lot, it can store in your blood vessel like a red blood cell and activate immune response all the time. So like this, when you store blood component for a long time, it means that it can induce fever, inflammations, infections into the patients. And all these nutrition can induce patient death. So actually, if you have the little complications, you may have fever, you may have like hypoxia, but in the severe case, it can induce patient death. Do you have any question about this one? So for this slide, I hope you to remember that which parameter increase, which parameter decrease. So anticoagulant that we use today have a lot of combination, just different recipes, such as ACDA1 is used in the apheresis component. Do you know about apheresis? Or can you tell me what is apheresis? Do you heard about the word apheresis? Okay, if you don't know, it's okay. I'm not sure. Do you heard about plasma apheresis? Pellet apheresis. Okay, because of when you donate batch in each time, actually we donate the whole blood, right? But you can select just one component to donate, such as plasma. We will call this method is plasma apheresis. Just collect plasma from the patient, and the remaining component will be turned back to the patient. It's very useful in case of that you want to collect immunoglobulin from the patient, something like that. And another one that is famous today is CPD. But actually, if you see here, the CPD can store it but just 21 days. Right now, we have author recipe that is CPDA1, composed of citrate, phosphate, dextrose, adenine. This recipe can store it but for 35 days. And all of these anticoagulant use at a ratio 1.4 to 10. Right now, we use CPDA1. Do you think it's long enough to store it for 35 days? It should be enough, right? But is it better if you can store longer than this? Let's see. We have another slide. So let's understand first what is the importance of each component. The first one is citric acid or sodium citrate. As you know that this is anticoagulant. When it functions, it will bind to the calcium into the plasma and inhibit coagulation formations. The second one is the dextrose. When you see dextrose, you understand that this is the sugar. So the cell can receive one as the source for ATP. And the third one is monobasic sodium phosphate, or in other words is sodium dihydrogen phosphate. This is used as pH stability. As I tell you before that when you store blood for a long time, the pH gonna decrease, right? So we use this component to maintain the pH to the normal level. And the last one is adenine. Adenine is also ATP synthesis as well. So I hope you to memorize all of these components. So in your idea, right now we have two molecules that can be used as source for ATP productions. That is dextrose and adenine. Why do you think why we not just select only one? Why we not just use only dextrose or adenine? What is different between these two components? I would like you to exchange and get the knowledge. Don't worry if you answer, if you don't understand or you answer the wrong one. It's okay, no problem.
Maybe because adenine is a precursor, right?
Yes.
And the dextrose is just energy source.
So it's the same thing, right? But think about if you use glucose as the energy source. When you use glucose in non-oxygen condition, the end product will be lactic acid. It will decrease the pH. That is correct. It means that if you use only that one, you will have limitation. You will have the limitation of shell life of the red blood cell in short term. And if you use only adenine, what happens? Can we use adenine instead of dextrose? What is the end product of adenine or end product of amino acid?
urea
I hope
urea urea
Urea, and then what happened?
become to
The blood gonna be base. Then, right? The pH gonna increase, so it will not good as well. That's why they have to use it two components together. So as I tell you, or as I ask you that shell life just 34 days is enough. Is it better if we can extend the shell life of the red blood cells? Right now we have other solution that is additive solutions. If you add this one to the blood bath, it can extend the shell life from 35 days into 42 days. So right now when you go to your hospital, it depends on the blood bag that you're gonna use. Some blood bags have additive solution, and the red blood cell we have shell life of 42 days. But with our additive solution, it has a shell life only 35 days. Okay, the benefits is already tell you. And the second one, or the benefit of additive solution, when you think about the red blood cell, inside the red blood cell, not have just only red blood cell, it have plasma. And plasma can be used in other treatment, other disease. If you replace plasma with additive solution, you can correct more plasma, and plasma will not affect to the red blood cell transfusion or platelet transfusions. So do you really understand that word? Can you explain me? What is useful if you remove plasma from the platelet? Such as patient blood group A, and then I transfuse platelet blood group O. If I not remove plasma, what is the effect of platelet blood group O? Can you follow me? Patient blood group A, and then I transfuse platelet blood group O. Which molecules can affect to patient blood group A?
Antibody.
Yes, antibody. Antibody from platelet blood group O can make red blood cell lysis in patient blood group A. So in that one, if you replace with the additive solution, it can reduce risk of hemolysis. So, and the third one is because you replace the plasma with additive solution, you can control the hematocrit of the blood bag. Because when you think that each donor will have slightly different hematocrit from 55 to 75, it means that each blood bag will have different viscosity. If you add additive solution, you can control viscosity of the blood. So this is the recipe for additive solution. You don't need to remember. I just would like you to know that if you add additive solution, it can be stored red blood cell for longer to 42 days. So when you use CPD together with additive solution, yes, the benefit is when you remove plasma. When you remove plasma and use additive solution, you can extend the shell life for 42 days. It's not just only that one. because of it already confirmed that it can increase viability of the cells. And the red blood cell should be function normally. In the first slide that I showed you, when we transfuse red blood cell to the patient, red blood cell should have viability, 25% viability at least how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes you may have this in your NT license. Sometimes it's very, very basic until that we not think about it. So when you transfuse red blood cell to the patient, it should have 25% viability at least 3 days. So when you use additive solution, when you donate blood, you will have the blood bag like this. Sometimes it will be 3, sometimes it will be 4 blood bags. The first one is whole blood, and another 2 can be plasma or can be buffy coat. When you separate plasma, when you already separate plasma and buffy coat, you will fill up additive solution back into the red blood cells. So if you collect only whole blood or only 1 blood bag, you will not add as additive solution in it. Is it possible to add additive solution in the whole blood directly without separate plasma and buffy coat? Do you think it is possible to add additive solution into the whole blood directly without separate MFP and buffy coat?
It's possible.
So actually it should be, right? But if you add additive solution to the whole blood first, it means that your plasma will have additive solution too. And it will dilute protein or something that you want in the plasma. That is the unwanted condition that you don't want it. So this is actually it's just nothing. You just would like to know that it's biochemical characteristic of red blood cell that is in additive solutions. So storage, I already tell you. But for about pH, do you think it changed from the previous one? So actually pH in your body is 7 or 7.4, right? But in blood that is a little bit different. So that is about anticoagulant and additive solution that we use in the blood bank. However, if you are overweight, if you have the low blood group, you want to store it but longer than that, what can we do? The one method that we can do is we can freeze it, or we can use cryopreservation of the blood. So actually when we freeze the red blood cells, can we directly put the red blood cell into the ice? Can we?
No.
No, we cannot do that. So the blood bank optimize many methods to do the cryopreserve of the red blood cells. And the purpose of cryopreserve is to store the blood group antigen. I already give you the example of the overall day. Can you give me other example? Bombay. Okay. Another one? H negative. So actually it's difficult to find, but it's not that much. RH now. Yes. Do you know the blood group little p? Little p is a rare blood group. If you have your family has little p blood group, you may ask the blood bank to preserve your red blood cell that you in case accident. So the type of freezing have 2 methods. The first one is slow freezing. Slow freezing decrease temperature about 10 degrees Celsius per minute. And another one is rapid freezing. The temperature will decrease more than 10 degrees Celsius per minute. So if you want to know more about this one, I recommend you to work in blood bank and you will have a chance to do it. So the reagent or the component that we add into the blood to freeze it, there are two types. The first one, that is penetrating agent. It means that this agent will fill into the red blood cell, such as glycerol and DMSO or dimethyl sulfoxide. So the mechanism of glycerol or DMSO to prevent red blood cell lysis is this reagent will dehydrate the cell by take out the water from the cell, and cell will become dehydrated. Like in this picture is show the fresh red blood cells, and when you add glycerol, cell just a little bit swollen, and when you freeze, the red blood cell will still have the same shape. And if you thaw it and remove glycerol from the red blood cell, the red blood cells still have the same picture or the same shape. So actually I don't want you to know all these. Just give you the example of how to use the cryopreserved red blood cells. And second one is non-penetrating agent, such as hydroxyl starch. For this one, the cryoprotective agent will not diffuse into the cells. Do you think which method is better? Penetrate into the cell or non-penetrate into the cells? It seems to be non-penetrate into the cell better, right? I think so, but the famous one is glycerol. The famous method today is glycerol as cryoprotective agent. And the important thing, because when you feed the red blood cell, you just not can feed at 0 degrees Celsius. You have to deep feed into liquid nitrogen. The blood bag should be still be the same shape and should be freeze at liquid nitrogen. So we use polyolefin instead of polyvinyl chloride. So I would like you to remember this one as well. So right now, what is the famous cryoprotective agent used in blood bank?
Glycerol, DMSO.
Glycerol. Okay, glycerol. So the advantage to use cryoprotective agent is from the previous, if we keep fed red blood cell, it can store at 42 days, right? But for cryopreservation of blood, it can store for 10 years. It's sometimes present in your MTH60 as well. So the important step is when you are rare blood group, difficult to find the blood, you can use cryopreservative red blood cell. With this cell will have the same viability and function as a fresh blood. And third one, because the freezing method is optimized for the red blood cells, it will have low number of the white blood cell and platelet. The decreasing of white blood cell and platelet, do you think was it a good? What is its advantage? When you think about you transfuse blood to the patient, you learn about antigen on the red blood cells, but white blood cell already have antigen as well. If you try to remove it out as much as you can, it can reduce immunization of the patient. That's the useful of reduce leukocyte and platelet. And the fourth one, because from the process, when you already freeze, when you already thaw, you have to wash to remove the cryoprotective agent. This means that all the protein in the plasma are removed as well. It can help to reduce allergy in the patients. It seems to have a lot of advantage, but the important disadvantage is it's time consuming. It takes time to freeze and thaw the cells. And if you were just only in your hospital, you may not have capacity to do the cryopreservation. And it requires to store it at -55 degrees Celsius just for 1 year. If you want to store longer, you have to put it into liquid nitrogen. And it's very high cost because you cannot use the normal blood bath. So because of right now, because blood is just we don't have enough donor. And sometimes when you work into the hospital, the doctor want you to hold blood for the patient until it expires. It means that blood unit cannot be used anymore. So we have another method to recover or to rejuvenate the blood. When you think that if you collect blood from the patient today, from the donor today, your blood gonna be fresh, but at the expiry date, your blood gonna be like you don't have energy. If you want it to function, to be fresh again, you have to add rejuvenating solution. It contains pyruvate, inosine, phosphate, and adenine. This will help your expired blood cell become rejuvenate and function again. But if you use this process, you have to use this blood within 3 days. Or you need blood within 24 hours. And it has just a little bit limitation is that this expired blood can be expired just only 3 days. Cannot be expired longer than that. Rejuvenating solution contain pyruvate, inosine, phosphate, and adenine, or sometimes we call PIPA, PIPA. So, or you can use auto method to memorize by your own. When you use, you have, when you add rejuvenating solution, and when you gotta use it, you have to wash out rejuvenating solution before add to the patient because inosine will become toxic to the patients. By the way, it seems to be good, right? Because you can use red blood cell after it's expired, but it has some disadvantage because this method is expensive and time consuming. But if I ask you, do you think is it useful? If you think it's useful, in which case? If I have overweight blood and it's expired today, you have the patient gonna come tomorrow. Is it useful for you? Yes. So sometimes even it's expensive or time consuming, if the blood is slab or group, it will be useful for the patient as well. Okay, that is all the process for the blood storage. Do you have any questions? Okay, if you don't have, I will have a question for you. What is the anticoagulant that we use today?
CPD. Yes. CPD.
Okay. Citrate,
Citrate,
one.
phosphate.
Citrate, phosphate. Dextrose.
Yes. CPD.
One more alphabet. Adenine, CPD, A1. CPD, A1. For CPD, A1, it can store for 35 days. And if you add active solution, it can store for 42 days. Okay. The next one is about the blood flow chain. I will tell you the process since we collect from the blood donor until we give to the patients. That process is called the blood flow chain. The blood flow chain refers to the system for store and transport blood and blood component. in the proper component at the correct temperature, because if you correct in the incorrect temperature, then the cell can be lysis or biochemical or immunological of the blood component going to be changed. The blood flow change will involve in three points. The first one is person, because all the method you use the people to do the experiment or to do the process, right? So as you use the people to correct blood from the blood donor, do you think which point that laboratory technician should which point that medical technologists should be considered about blood correction? Which point that you have to consider if you correct blood from the donor? What is the first step that you will do if you want to correct blood from the donor? First step that you always forget. ได้ยินคำว่าเช็คชื่อ Yes, the first step you have to ask the name of the blood donor. It should be matched from the blood bank. And that one is very important because sometimes it can make the error. The blood component going to be changed to other people. And moreover, you have to do the sterile technique. You have to clean the correction area. If you not clean it well, it's going to have contamination in the blood. And another one is to transport blood from the correction site to the blood bank. At the correction site, if you see like this, in this box, it can maintain the temperature around 1 to 10 degrees Celsius. It means that equipment is so important for the blood flow chain. And the third one is the process. When you work in the hospital, it should be have SOP or standard operation protocol. It will tell you what you will do from the correction to transfer to the patients. And you how to do if you have a problem in each step. Such as if you are HIV from the donor informed positive, can we just call to the patient to come and check again? Such as when you work in the blood bank and we have the test for HIV. If the HIV is positive, can we just call to the donor, come and check for the HIV?
Yes.
We cannot. We have to send the information to the doctor, and the doctor will process and call the donor by his own. It's not our responsibility. And when you inform anything to the patient who is HIV positive, you have to very, very carefully. In the past, in my hospital, when the patient know that he is HIV positive, he jumped from the building and dead. Yes. So that's why you have to very, very careful to inform HIV positive to the patient. So the importance of the blood flow chain is the first one, the biological function. If you cannot remember this one, you come back to the blood storage that involved in red cell morphology, biochemical, and immunological. So the blood flow chain will correlate with that red cell storage. The first one is to maintain the biological function. It's not just only viability, but it should maintain the function of red blood cell. The important one is oxygen carrying capacity and the platelet. Function of the platelet is, what is the function of the platelet?
Stop beating.
Stop beating, that one, okay. And when you transfuse the FFP, the important thing that you have to consider is some coagulation in the heat labile, some coagulation in the heat stable. When you transfuse, you have to know that with parameter that patient efficient, and you have to transfer into the correct amount of FFP. Second one is decrease metabolic activity. When you keep the red blood cells, we keep it at low temperature in that one because we want to decrease red blood cell activity. It's still alive, but less activity of the red blood cells. When it's less activity, so glycolytic rate will decrease. It will produce low amount of the lactic acid. So pH will gonna decrease as fast as it be at 37 degrees Celsius. And the third one is reduce bacterial growth. For red blood cell, if you store at 4 degrees Celsius, bacteria will not grow well. But is it growth at 4 degrees Celsius? I say that it's not grow well at 4 degrees Celsius. But if you already have bacteria in your blood, is it growth at 4 degrees Celsius?
It can.
So actually it grows but slow. The blood component that is very important to concern about bacterial growth in the pellet because we store it at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. So as I tell you that blood cold chain will start from just storage at the correct temperature to maintain its viability and functions. When you have to transport to somewhere, you have to pack it well into the closed system and transport at the correct temperature. To do all that one, you have to have good function of the equipment, such as if you use the cool box, you have to check that the cool box is at the correct temperature that you expect. So for the blood cold chain process, in the blood bank composed of 3 components. The first one, when you donate blood, the whole blood you have to transfer at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius within 6 hours. So actually this line I would like you to remember because it's very important when you work in a hospital. Transport at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius for 6 hours, and then you have to process to separate each blood component. So one whole blood can be separated largely into 3 components. The first one is the red blood cell component. It should be it should be stored at 1 to 6 degrees Celsius. And if you want to transport the processed blood, it should be transported at 2 to 10 degrees Celsius. For the plasma component, it should be freezed at -80 or -18 or lower. Just at this temperature, it can store for 1 year. And pellet component, this is the important one. It really have short half-life. It has to be transport or storage at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius with chamber all the time. If you not change, if you just put it on your table, the pellet gonna dead, and you cannot transfer this to the patient. So if you see all these 3 components, you can see pellet is at the same temperature of unprocessed blood, right? Yes, this is why unprocessed blood should be stored at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. So for the whole blood, for the unprocessed whole blood, it depends on the protocol of the hospital. In the previous that I tell you that you should be stored at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius if you want to separate pellet. But if you don't want, you can store it at 1 to 10 degrees Celsius. All of these 2 components should be transported less than 6 hours. And for the storage of the whole blood and red blood cells should be at 1 to 6 degrees Celsius for 25 days for CPDA1. And when you transport from the storage from our lab to the patient, it should be at 1 to 10 degrees Celsius and transport within 24 hours. What does this mean? So actually, when you transport from the storage to the patient, you should imagine that sometimes your hospital cannot directly collect blood from the donor. You have to ask for other hospital. In that case, you can transport within 24 hours. Another one is pellet concentrate. This is very easy for you because it generally have one temperature 20 to 24 degrees Celsius with checking. So for the storage, actually right now we can store for 5 days. Depend on the blood bank or anticoagulant that you're going to use. And if you transport, it should be within 24 hours. When you issue or transfer pellet to the patient, it should be give or transfer within 15 to 20 minutes. So for the FFP, for 1 year storage at minus 18 degrees Celsius, for long-term storage at minus 65 degrees Celsius. Just for this slide, I would like you to know that if you transport or store pellets at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius, but for the FFP at minus 80 degrees Celsius for 1 year and minus 65 degrees Celsius for a long time. And alternatively, you can see and follow by this slide. I will not read it for you. Is there any component that you don't know? May I ask you, factor A is for treatment which disease?
Hemophilia.
Hemophilia A, excellent. Yes, sometimes we have factor A. We have factor A concentrate or we have purified factor A to treatment for hemophilia A. Okay. So the next we have to understand about each blood component. So actually it has a lot of detail. I will just point you which point that you should remember, and another one you have to read by your own. The first one is the blood product. When you heard about the blood product, it can be anything that can produce from your blood. Red blood cell, white blood cell, platelet, plasma, albumin, something like that. So for the whole blood, I understand that you know that everything in the blood will be present in this bag. That is we call whole blood. It means that you have red blood cell, antibody, protein. So for this whole blood, it can separate into red blood cell concentrate. It means that if you remove plasma and eliminate only red blood cells, or red cell suspension, that you remove plasma out and add additive solutions, or the plasma, or we call FFP and pellet concentrate, as well as cryoprecipitate. So for derivatives such as albumin, coagulation factor, concentrate, immunoglobulin, you don't need to remember because you know already what is the component of the whole blood, right? But the thing that I would like you to know is when you donate blood, one bag will contain 450 ml of blood donor and about 60 ml of anticoagulant or preservative solutions. And you see here about hematocrit is around 35 to 45% of hematocrit. Let's see this one first. And importantly, because of you store it at 4 degrees Celsius for a long time, you will not have factor 5 and factor A. It means that you cannot use whole blood to treat hemophilia A. When you donate one blood or give one blood to patients, you call it one unit or one pack. If you work in the hospital, it will call that 1U. Already understand that they want 1 unit of the blood. So the important thing is you have to understand that which disease can be transmitted from the blood. The first one is HIV. It's composed of HIV-1 and HIV-2, as well as HPV, HCV, and other infectious diseases such as syphilis, malaria, and Chagas disease. In the blood bank, we will check for HIV, HPV, HCV, and syphilis for you. But others such as malaria and Chagas disease, we don't check. But if you have the survey document right, you have to add the correct information that you not travel into the malaria endemic area, something like that. So when you think about whole blood, most component is the red blood cell, right? When you transfuse this component to the patient, you just understand that what is in the blood component. Whole blood have everything. It means that if the patient have anemia situation, you can give whole blood to the patient. That is the key idea. If you not have enough red blood cell, you can give whole blood to the patient. But right now, we don't use whole blood. So actually, we don't use whole blood. We just use in case of exchange transfusion. Exchange transfusion is mean that when you have some severe disease in your blood and you have to remove both red blood cell and plasma together, you remove from the patient and put the blood donor into the patient at the same time. That is called exchange transfusion. Used in case of HDFN. And transfused whole blood red blood cell is ABO and RH compatible. The important thing is never add any medication to the blood unit. Because sometimes they think that if they have to find alter blood vessel, give the medication, it takes time and hard for them. So they just inject into the blood back and then patient have a situation. And in one whole blood, you have to transfuse within 4 hours. Why 4 hours? If I transfuse just 1 hour, do you think what's gonna happen? One whole blood have around, let me check, had around 500 ml. It's like you drink 500 ml at the same time and it's already in your blood vessel. What happened? Volume overload, right? Volume overload, you have too much blood in your body. But if you transfuse longer than 6 hours, what happened to you? It will have the lead of infection. It will have the lead of bacterial contamination during infusion to the patients. Because we not just put the blood back directly to the patient, we have the infusion set. And we have to pass back into the infusion set first. And if you take it too long, it will have to lead to contamination in that infusion set. Okay, the second one is the capillary cells. If you can see here for the blood, this capillary cell, most of plasma gonna remove, so the percent hematocrit gonna increase to 55 and 25%. One unit of issue is one donation. The same infection is found in every blood component. That is HIV, HCV, HPV, syphilis, malaria, and Chagas disease. So I will recommend you to remember all that one. All the red blood cell component will start at 1 to 6 degrees Celsius, and because of this component in the red blood cells, we will use it in the anemia patient. And for the method to administration is ABO and RH compatible. And because of this blood component have more concentrate than the whole blood, sometimes we mix with the normal saline to increase blood flow. The third one is PRC with sargam. So sargam is a solution which contains normal saline, adenine, glucose, and mannitol. This one, when we use it, so we think about peptide cell, right? And then it have too many of the red blood cells. We add this solution to decrease viscosity of the blood component, so it will have a better flow rate of the red blood cell into the patients. Just only one thing that you have to remember is this blood component should not be transfused into neonate. Because if you can see here, it have this one, it have glucose. If the neonate receive too much glucose, what's gonna happen? When you transfuse something to the neonate, you have to consider that he is a small blood volume. We cannot give 1 unit to the neonate. And the second one, we have to consider that what is inside the blood bag, such as CPDA1. Sometimes if you add too much into the neonate, it can induce death into the neonates as well as anything that you put in the blood bag. If it's too much, it can induce death. So for this one, it's not recommended to use for exchange transfusion in the neonate. So the first one is LDPRC, leukocyte depleted peptide cell. I will tell you that white blood cell also have its own antigen. We call white blood cell antigen. If you use too much, if you often receive blood transfusion, it can induce antibody to white blood cells. And when you have antibody to white blood cells, the thing that's gonna happen is it will be difficult for you to find the blood. Moreover, for the leukocyte depleted peptide cells, it has some virus such as CMV that locate in the white blood cell. If you deplete white blood cell, it can reduce risk of CMV transmission. This is one of the key points. And the second one is with the patient that often receive blood component, it can induce and it can produce antibody to white blood cells. And in that case, patient will have the complication, that's it, patient will have the fever after red blood cell transfusions. We call SNHTR. So to reduce SNHTR, we should use LDPRC. By the way, do you know graft-versus-host disease? It occurs from which type of white blood cells? T cell, right?
Yes.
So use LDPRC cannot prevent graft-versus-host disease. If you want to prevent graft-versus-host disease, you should give radiation to the blood component to destroy the DNA of white blood cells, and I will explain later. So for the LDPRC, the aspiration is similar to whole blood and peptide cells. Okay. More important thing, to deplete the white blood leukocyte from the peptide cell, we use filter. We use filter to remove the white blood cell from peptide cells. The next one is platelet concentrate. So actually platelet products have two components. If you already learned, can you tell me which component and which component? How to prepare pellet? So actually, pellet, we have two preparation method. The first one, prepare from just only one donor. And the second one, you can pull it from 4 to 6 donors. The difference between two methods is, first, the amount of pellet. For single donor pellet, we have pellet about this unit, this number. And pool pellet, we have pellet around this number. But the useful thing is, if we consider about single donor pellet, you have just antigen from one patient. So if you go to the patient who have often received the pellet. And the second one is pool donor pellet. When you pull it from 4 to 6 donors, it will have more antigen from the one. It can induce patient to produce antibody to pellet. So the indication, usage indication depend on the situation or depend on the disease of donor of patients. So, and one thing, the infection risk of pellet is different from the whole blood. So actually it's the same, but one thing that you have to consider is pellet is stored at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. It will easy to contamination or bacterial growth. It means that every unit of the pellet should be tested for contaminations. If you have contamination, you have to remove from the recipient. And it can store just 5 days. It is important to tell you that you not put it into the refrigerator. So the indication of use pellet, you ask yourselves, what is the function of pellet? Stop bleeding, right? Such as in the thrombocytopenia. Low pellet number or pellet function defect. If you add pellet in, it can restore the function of pellet. So actually, I will not recommend to you to remember everything, but I would like you to ask yourself what is the function of pellet and add that to patients. The second one is pellet concentrate from the whole blood. Sorry. Another one is about complication of the pellet concentrate. So for the pellet concentrate, it is not recommended for prophylactic of bleeding in surgical patient. It means that when the patient who are in operation and have the bleeding, it will not just put the pellet into the patient. You have to find the reason why the patient has bleeding, because sometimes patient may deficient in other factors such as factor A, factor 9, something like that. So when the doctor on do operation or something, they will send out the PT and APT test first that patient has any coagulation factor defect or not. At that one, if you found the patient has coagulation defect, you tell the doctor and doctor will give some specific treatment before operations. So the one dosage, actually for the pellet concentrate from 4 to 6 donor, 1 unit per 10 kg of the body weight. It means that if the patient have around 50 kg, how many units should be given to the patients? 5, right? The important thing that you should know is when you give pellet to the patient, the number, how many pellets gonna increase. That is 20 to 40. 10 กำลังการนี้เท่าไหร่คะ 1,000 million cells per liter. Right? So what is the important thing to know that how many pellets increase. Because in some situation, you give pellet to the patient, but pellet still the same. It cannot increase pellet into the patient. It means that you have to add more pellet to the patient. But in some situation, if the patient has splenomegaly, DIC or septicemia, when you add pellet to the patient, the pellet will not increase as you expect. So you have to consider about patient situation as well. And for the pellet, actually it should be infused within 30 minutes. And then this is the important thing. For the mother who has RH negative, you should not add RH positive to that matter because it will induce matter to produce anti-D. And if it's possible, give ABO compatible. The next one is pellet concentrate from the apheresis. For apheresis, that's one, and I already told you that you can just separate one blood component from the donor, and the remaining component will go into the donor. So the volume is around 100 to 300 ml, and the pellet number should be around here. So actually, it's nothing. So actually, I will tell you that the two components is quite similar, just single donor pellet have less antigen, and pool donor pellet has more antigen because it pull from 4 to 6 donor. And the important one, if you separate pellet from blood group O, you have to consider that blood group O sometimes has high titer of anti-A and anti-B. If you transfuse with ABO incompatible, you have to consider about antibody titer. The next one is fresh frozen plasma. For the fresh frozen plasma, is there any heat labile coagulation factor in it?
5.
FFP has heat labile coagulation factor or not? I know that the lecture is very detailed. By the way, this is one of the points that you use a lot in the hospital and also present in the MT license.
Speed revive.
Okay. So you have to see this one. For the any blood component that is separate within 6 hours and then immediately freeze at the -20 or lower, it will be still have heat labile factor, such as factor 8 is around 20% of fresh plasma level. And don't forget that in the FFP, not just only factor 8, in plasma, autotrophic factor, albumin, and immunoglobulin. So usually it has around 200 and 300 ml. And if you want to transfuse into the children, you have to aliquot into the small volume. So the important thing is, if you want to store it for 1 year as -18 degrees Celsius, when you thaw, this is very important because in the past, they have some hospital thaw it in microwave. Do you think what happened if you thaw it in a microwave? It will be delicious, right? Because it contains protein. But actually that protein will not function anymore, and it will become foreign antigen to the patient body, and possibly will have very strong reaction to that component. So actually when you thaw the FFP, you have to thaw it in water bath at 30 to 37 degrees Celsius. And when you use, you have to use between 24 hours. If you cannot use it immediately, you should keep it at 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. So it have some special component that is FFP treated with methylene blue or ultraviolet inactivation. This can reduce risk of some infectious disease that I will talk to you later. So FFP, you think FFP has everything, right? So it can treatment for the factor deficiency such as liver disease, because in the liver disease, patients have low albumin. And warfarin anticoagulant overdose. And patient receive large volume transfusions. It means that in some patients, such as patients who have burn, the patient will lose a lot of protein. In that case, you can give FFP to the patient as well. Or in the patient with DIC and thrombotic thrombocytopenia purpura. The important thing that you have to consider in between the FFP to the patient is every person has different protein composition in the blood. If you transfuse your protein to another one, you expect that it should be the same, but sometimes it's not. It can induce allergic into the patient, or in the severe case, it can induce anaphylactic reaction, and patient gonna be dead. So when you give FFP to the patient, it should be ABO compatible. And no compatibility testing is required. You're gonna learn it next week, don't worry about it. So when you talk FFP, actually it should be used after 6 hours because of coagulation got lost. And if after 24 hours, doctors will not use it. You cannot use it anymore. The next one is liquid plasma or H plasma. At the FFP, you separate plasma within 6 hours. But for the H plasma, you separate plasma after 24 hours, such as protocol of Tasala Hospital. They separate plasma after 24 hours. It means that labile coagulation factor will disappear, and you don't have factor 5 and factor 8 anymore. The next one is cryo-removed plasma. You know FFP, right? And you know cryoprecipitation. Cryo-removed plasma is FFP minus cryoprecipitation. That is the meaning of cryo-removed plasma. And the next one is virus removed plasma. For this one, it uses methylene blue and ultraviolet to inactivate HIV, HPV, and HCV. Use in which case in your area? So sometimes we use in immunocompromised hosts, such as during organ transplantation or stem cell transplantation, because patient has the risk to infect with this virus easily. But for this method, methylene blue and ultraviolet cannot prevent or cannot inactivate hepatitis A or parvovirus. This is two laws that I would like you to remember about virus removed plasma. So if I ask you to categorize two sets of this virus, HIV, HPV, and HCV is what type of the virus? Envelovirus. And hepatitis A and parvovirus is non-envelovirus. The next one is cryoprecipitate. So actually cryoprecipitate, or we call in short cryo. This one we prepare from the FFP, but the volume, when we prepare it like, sometimes we prepare it like in the powder or in the small volume just only 10 to 20 ml of the plasma, but for the FFP it's around 200 and 300 ml of the plasma, right? For the cryo it has factor 8 and 5 milligen. It means that if you transfuse, if you want factor A transfuse into the patient, into neonate, into the student, it will recommend you to use cryoprecipitate because the volume is smaller than FFP and it can prevent volume overload into the patient. So one unit that we transfuse is now 6 units of single donor unit. So cryoprecipitate is it can use for treatment factor A deficiency or 1 milligram factors. Factor A or hemophilia A and factor 13. How factor 13 involved in factor A pathway?
intrinsic pathway
Intrinsic pathway. So actually I cannot remember. That's why I asked you, but I will have the answer in the next slide. So another one, because in the cryoprecipitate, it also have the fibrinogen. It can use for treatment D and C. So cryoprecipitate can transfuse with ABO incompatible, but if it's possible, use ABO compatible product and should be infused within 6 hours after thawed the product. So factor 13 is here. It helps to cross-link the fibrin clot. You can go back and check by your own hand. The next one is factor A concentrate. So the product that we learned today that has factor A is FFP, cryo, and this one is factor A concentrate. From these 3 products, FFP is the large volume, and cryoprecipitate is the smaller one, and factor A concentrate is the smallest one. Sometimes you need a lot of factor A. You can use factor A concentrate. For this one, it can prepare from the donor plasma or use genetic engineering to prepare the factor A concentrate. This component is useful because of it's not appear to transmit any virus, HIV, HTLV, hepatitis B, and other virus. This is useful. So if you use FFP, cryoprecipitate, that one is produced from the human blood. It means that it can transmit many diseases, right? But if you use factor A concentrate, it will form as a powder, or sometimes we use genetic engineering to produce factor A. And it's right now it's found that they don't appear to transmit HIV, HTLV, and hepatitis C. Do you know HTLV? Human T cell leukemia virus. This one will be in your T cells. If you transfuse to the patient, it will induce patient to have leukemic situation later. So factor A concentrate is used to treat hemophilia A or 1 milligram disease. The next one is prothrombin complex and prothrombin complex concentrate or PCC and factor 9 concentrate. So actually the name is already tell you everything, right? Prothrombin complex consists of factor 2, 9, and 10. And factor 9 concentrate consists of factor 9. So for this product, it comes like a powder, so it should be stored at 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. And you have to know that for treatment of hemophilia A, use which factor? Patient with hemophilia A or hemophilia B or Christmas disease don't have this factor.
Factor 9.
9, yes. And it also use prothrombin complex concentrate in some situation of some. Yes, it can use prothrombin complex concentrate. So in the case, because of this one is the concentrate coagulation factor, if you want to correct the APTT immediately, you can use this product as well. among the last one is coagulation factor product for patient with factor A inhibitor. Can you tell me which one is factor A inhibitor? What is a factor A inhibitor?
antibody
Warfarin. Antibody to factor A. Warfarin. I would like you to go and check. By the way, if you know that the patient has factor A inhibitor, I would like you to know that it also have this product coagulation factor for the patient with factor A inhibitor. So by the way, actually it's not have in all hospital. It depends on the doctor to keep the medications. And the eighth one is the Hellman albumin solution. So in this case, when you think about the albumin, what is the importance of albumin in your blood? When it can reduce?
permeability
Sorry,
permeability in the blood
ไม่ได้ยินพูดเต็ม
เป็นอะไรวะ permeability ใน blood
Permeability, yes. If you don't have albumin, the water from the blood vessel will release into the tissue and then you will have the edema solution. So it means that we use it in liver disease or in the patient who has hypoproteinemia. But even we understand that albumin is one of the protein we should not use in the case of malnutrition. So and the next one is immunoglobulin for intramuscular. So actually, if you understand this one, it's just passive immunization that you have to inject into the intramuscular, such as I understand that you know about Ebola virus, right? So for the Ebola virus, when patient already recover from the Ebola virus, they can donate plasma to produce immunoglobulins. And in that case, we can intramuscular injection to the patient. And it can, so the antibody from the donor can neutralize Ebola virus from the patients. So in this purpose of immunoglobulin for intramuscular, just like for the treatment for virus disease. But one thing that you have to consider is you should not intravenously injection to the patient because the reaction will be too strong and patient will have anaphylactic shock or something. And the next one is intravenous injection. IG for intravenous injections. So actually it can use, so IV, it means that this is all the immunoglobulin that's not intramuscular. It will be intravenous injections, such as due to compensate immunodeficiency disease, or use in the case of idiopathic autoimmune thrombocytopenia purpura. So when you see about this word, idiopathic means that you don't know what is the cause of the disease. Autoimmune antibody to the antigen of the patient, thrombocytopenia, is patient has low platelet concentration and purpura. When patient don't have enough platelet, they will develop purpura on the skin. From this one, it means that the patient has antibody to the platelet of the patient itself. And when you add intravenous injection, the antibody can neutralize the autoantibody. So and the third one you can use in hypogammaglobulinemia. This is also hypo is low, gamma globulin is mean IgG. And also in HIV related disease, because in HIV patient actually has immunocompromised host. and has low CD4 level, sometimes it affects to IgG production. And about the last one is anti-DRH IgG. For the anti-DRH IgG, we inject into the martyr who is RH negative, but fragment the son of fetus RH positive to prevent anti-D production in the martyr. You already know what this one, right?
โปรแกรม
About the last one, it is gamma irradiation blood. So all the blood component that I tell you, it has all the blood components pancreas cell, whole blood, LDPRC, it still have the white blood cells. But in some patient, immunocompromised patient, organ transplantation, stem cell transplantations, the thing that they have to consider is graft-versus-host disease that driven by T cells. To prevent graft-versus-host disease, you can add gamma X-ray, gamma ray to the blood component. It will destroy DNA in the white blood cells. And then white blood cell cannot proliferate anymore. So it can prevent graft-versus-host disease. But the thing is, it destroys DNA. But it destroys DNA. The white blood cells still present in the blood. It means that this method cannot prevent CMV infections because CMV is inside the cell. Radiation cannot destroy the CMV inside the cells. So for the infusion set, this is the look like of blood infusion set. I hope you will not have a chance to see it. I have just only one when I work in the hospital. Because when I transfuse blood to the patients, and the patient have fever, and that is my last practice day. They come with infusion set, and yes, I shocked because I never had mistake that one before. For the infusion set, it will return to the laboratory when it has some accident in the patient, and patient has a fever, or indicate that patient has allergic reaction or something like that. So for the blood infusion set for the red blood cells, the pore size is around 120 to 200 micrometer. The purpose to have filter is because sometimes it has just small humping into the blood product. So this filter gonna filter fibrin, cellular debris, or proliferation protein. So use in case of white blood cell, whole blood, pancreas cell, LPRC, plasma cryoprecipitate. Is there any blood component that you don't know in here? One blood component that I don't explain to you.
โอเค
LPRC, right? So LPRC is the component between pancreas cell and leukocyte repeat pancreas cells. LPRC is from leukocyte poor pancreas cell. It reduces number of the white blood cell, but not decrease. It still have a little bit white blood cells. So one infusion set can be transfused for 1 to 2 units of the blood, and it must be transfused within 4 hours. If you want to infuse longer than this, you have to change the infusion set. For the platelet infusion, the pore size is smaller, that is 140 to 170 micron. Because sometimes it's like small microaggregation of platelet inside the blood that if you don't filter it, it will block the blood vessel of the patient. and that tissue will have hypoxia situations. Okay. So and this one, so you should just understand a little bit that from the whole blood and red blood cell, it should be transfused within 30 minutes after you move out from the refrigerator. It means that if you are at bank and nurse come to take the blood at 0 minutes, if they don't transfuse within 30 minutes, it may have change of chemical component or other things. And when you transfuse to the patient, it will have some clinical complications, such as red blood cell may be lysis during that time. And for it might be complete infusion within 4 hours. I will tell you that it will complete infusion within 4 hours at room temperature or 37 degrees Celsius, and half red cell should be immediately transfused, and complete infusion within 20 minutes, similar to the FFP and cryoxylization. And issue for blood component. This is often found in MT lysate. For the packed red cell or the red blood cell component, it should be ABO compatible. If you cannot find the match ABO blood group, you can use compatible ones, such as if the patient blood group A, you can transfuse blood group O. But for the plasma or pellet, for the patient blood group A, it should be transfused blood group A or AB. So you already learned in the lecture 2, right? Do you have any questions?